Happy Pride Month! This is a total accident. I was planning to do a video on colors, and it just so happens to fall in June. So, let's talk about the colors of the rainbow in chronological order. Let me explain. The concept of using words to describe color is inherently complex. We all agree that these are shades of red. But how do you describe red, right? Like colors, they're in a spectrum. And we cut that spectrum arbitrarily and assign those shades a name. So how did the first people come up with color words? So to ask ourselves about that, we have to look into anthropology. In the 60s, there were two linguists. Their names were Brent Berlin and Paul Kay, and they observed 20 languages that were pre-industrial, which is just another word for primitive, and observed their color words. And they found that the color comes into language in a pattern. The first two colors that a language will have are black and white, light and dark shades of color. And they'll use that to describe every color. There are a group of people in the Amazon named the Piraha. It's written in Portuguese because they're in Brazil. They only have two words for color, light and dark. And if they want to be more specific, they say it's colored like something. So they would say that this shade is dark banana. If there's three colors in a language, it'll be red. The next color is either going to be yellow or green, but then the next one will always be the next one. The other one, rather. Followed by blue, followed by more complex colors like orange and purple, and brown and gray and pink, okay? So there's a language in Africa that has four colors in the language, and they have one word for like whites and yellows, one word for black and dark colors in general, one for reds and browns, and one for blues and greens. See what I mean? So how did that happen in English? Let's follow English. Let's ask ourselves, how did these color words come into our language? Does it show the same pattern in the linguistics? I think it does, and I'll show you why I think that. Let's start with the two oldest colors, black and white. White comes from a Proto-Indo-European root, quite, and it means shining or bright. That makes sense. Black comes from the Proto-Indo-European root bleg, which means to burn. Okay, so you have something that's bright and shining, and you have something that's burnt. That makes sense. Now, other Indo-European languages don't share the same words for black and white. Easy example of that is in Spanish, you have blanco, negro. Those come from totally different roots, but we're going to probably talk about those later. Next is red, and red is the only color that has a cognate in every Indo-European language, and it means red. It's theorized that the root for red, horudo, meant something that's red in color, making it the oldest color word and the widest spread. So far the theory's holding up. Let's get to yellow and green. Remember I said that those come together. I'm going to start with green. Green and grow come from the same root, the Proto-Indo-European word gray. But we only share cognates in Germanic languages. So let's put a pin in that. Let's put it on the back burner for a second and talk about yellow. Yellow comes from the Proto-Indo-European gel, and it has a lot of connections to a lot of other Indo-European languages. So let's run over to a Proto-Indo-European word web. As you can see from this word web, the Proto-Indo-European root gel has given us words like yellow and gold through Germanic, and jaundice through the Romance languages. That makes sense. Those are yellow things. Jaundice is what happens when your liver stops working and your skin turns yellow. Gets interesting in Greek. We get the word chlorine, which comes from the Greek chloros, which means light green. You see, chlorine is a light green gas, so when it was discovered, they described it with the Greek name of that shade, of that color. So those are examples of it coming to mean either yellow or green, depending on the language. But interestingly, in Russian, the word for green is zelny, and the word for yellow is zholtoy. And those come from the same root. So they used the same word to describe yellow and green, which I think shows an interesting pattern. So at some point, there was a time when the Proto-Indo-Europeans had 4 color words. Let me get my cards. Sorry. They had a black, a white, a red, and then a greeny yellow, or a yellowy green. And these 4 words have come into every Indo-European language. But the Germanic peoples, at some point, decided to assign this as gold colored, and things that were growing were green. So that was our 5th color. So that shows that at this point we're in the Germanic realm, that these colors from here on out should be newer than Proto-Indo-European, and when we get to blue, that pattern continues. Only in other Germanic languages does the word blue mean the color blue. But it's kind of weird, okay? So in a lot of other Indo-European languages, they use the same root. The root bel led to our word blue. But it also led to a lot of other words that we use every day. So let me just read some to you and see what you think. And this is according to my sources, so you know it's true. Words such as beluga, butane, blanket, bleach, blonde, blitzkrieg, blemish, Belarus, phlegm, flame, flamingo, blush, blind, effulgence. I don't know what that means. I didn't go to college. Flamboyant, blend, and riboflavin, just to name a few. This word has come to mean so many different things. The original meaning was bright. The word blanco in Spanish is related to this. So it came to mean white. Same thing in the Russian word for white, Bel. That's where we get the name Belarus, I said in there. It means white Russia. So that's 2 examples of it coming to mean white. But at some point it came to mean blue in Germanic. Listen, alright, I wrote this script a month ago. I found this last night doing my final edits. If you want me to do a whole video on the Proto-Indo-European root Bel, leave a comment down below, because honestly, I want to go through each one of those words individually. I think it deserves that. The rest of the rainbow, being orange and purple, are named after objects. So we all know where orange comes from. If you haven't, go watch my first video about the word orange. Purple comes from the Greek word porphyra, which is the name of the snail that they ground up to make purple dye. It used to be that purple clothes were only allowed to be worn by kings because the dye was so expensive. And then the rest of the color words, they aren't in the rainbow. I'm not going to talk about them. They have their own roots and their own stories, but they don't matter. Ha! So let's tie all this together. Let's finish the story. Oldest words, right? These are the ones that are Proto-Indo-European. These 4 have connections to other languages that mean the same thing in those languages. Then you get to green and blue, and they're only Germanic, which tells you that they're newer. Then you get orange and purple, more complex words, and here we have our chronological rainbow. Thank you for watching Word Nerd. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a wonderful day. 再见。